What is going on, All Terrain Nation? And this is the happy hour, and the happy hour's changed ever so slightly. I got Miss Kelly over here going to join me in the happy hour from now on, and we got some exciting things going on. We got a lot of big show tonight. What am I?
A lot of big show
What
tonight.
am I, the guy from in Here We Go, Elvis Presley? Like
I
whatever
don't
his
know
name
what
was.
you be doing, Boo.
I don't know what it is, man. But we have a good show tonight, and we're happy to bring the happy hour back, man. We've softball is over for now.
Well, our highly committed selves,
Yes.
softball is over for right now.
So and Kelly keeps bugging me about doing news. She's always feeding me news stories, and I was just like, instead of just feeding me news stories, why don't you just come and do some of the news stories with me? So Kelly, welcome officially to the happy hour.
Thank you.
This is twice.
Jazz hands.
That's twice this week you've done jazz hands.
I know.
You just we need to chill out. But you guys know, man, we're excited to talk all things automotive here on the channel. And speaking of, we got to go back in the history just a little bit, Kelly.
Yeah.
So I met this person in 2000, probably 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, on a forum. Now, for you young people, a forum is where you use your fingers and you type things.
You get to be keyboard warriors in a different way.
And you use a persona. And this guy had a persona. At the time, it was, I think, Red Dragon or something like that. I can't remember. But he started up a parts company. And I was getting into the media side of things. And I had my own forum at the time. And I thought, I need to meet this guy. So he actually bought a Nissan Xterra, sight unseen, from the one you're about to see, by the way. He bought it. It was in Knoxville, Tennessee. He flew to Nashville because the guy dropped it off at the airport.
At Nashville Airport.
I think me and Danny may have talked on the phone once or twice. But let's bring in Mr. Danny, the Big Deal Grooters, man. What is going on, buddy?
What's up, Dave? I'm tripping out because I kind of completely forgot that this thing is the truck that it doesn't. I think of it as the truck that I crashed and then turned into a race truck. But truthfully, this is the truck that I bought sight unseen, and that's how we first met. Like picking this truck up from a random airport in the middle of and then me driving it all the way to Moab, Utah, and off-roading it for a week. And there's a million stories in that story, but that's crazy to remember that.
Well, it was crazy because you were such in old school people. If you were watching this or rewatching this, you know the story. But we and Danny kind of give you a little bit of the story. Like I said, I was starting a forum. Danny had a company he was starting up. We were like a match made in heaven. We both needed each other a little bit at the time, and it seemed to work out. And Danny was, I took off work early to meet Dan at the airport to take. And not really do anything with Dan. I just drove to the airport.
No, and what's really funny is Dave's like, I'm gonna go meet this guy at the airport, and I was like, to do what exactly? He's like,
he's casual encounter.
Xterra, and I was like,
I'm looking to be abducted, basically, is what Kelly's
right.
thinking.
You're going to Nashville Airport for what?
Yeah, but so Kelly is worried for my life, and I see you get off the plane as close as I can get you off the plane. I see you, and you're just instantly focused of. I just paid a lot of money for a vehicle that I don't know if hopefully
please
it's going to
be there. Yeah, it was please be there, because I think you were going to check and if there was something wrong, you were my backup plan.
Yeah,
I had very few backup plans on this entire thing, but you were my backup plan. If the keys weren't, I think they were on the tire or I don't even remember what the scenario was, but it was.
I think he mailed you a set.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I had the keys. He mailed me both sets of keys. And I was just hoping that I would get it, I would find it and then get it and it started and it drove normally.
Yeah. And so I met Danny, we shake hands. Danny hops in the thing, like he said, makes sure it's running. And then I was like, hey, Dan, let's go get a cool picture in front of the Nashville Titans Stadium, which is the Nissan Stadium. And somehow from the 5 miles from the airport, I lost Dan somehow. Dan ends up showing up. We get a couple of pictures and you're like, dude, I've got to go. And I'd forgot that so Dan's in Southern California and he flew to Nashville, Tennessee. And where were you going next, Danny?
I drove straight to Chicago. I literally drove till for some reason in my head, I thought it was a 4-hour drive or a 3-hour drive or something like that to Chicago. Whatever happened when I looked it up, I was like, oh, that's not a big deal. Just complete idiot style. And I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go. I gotta make it to Chicago tonight. And I think Dave was like, You're going to what? You're going to where? Yeah, that took a lot longer than I expected it to.
Yeah, it's a 9-hour trip probably.
Is that far? I don't even know any.
But so Dan gets up there, and you had this weird story of you were shooting guns or something with a police dude or something.
I had an old military friend that lived in Chicago. I wanted to go meet. And then I was going from there. I was going to go down to Moab, Utah for a big off-road event in Moab, Utah. And yeah, I went up there, got in there, whatever time in the wee hours in the morning. I shot a Tommy gun. I had a deep dish, spent the day. And then the next morning I picked up some hippies that I found on Craigslist because they were going to throw me some cash for gas.
This is the damn way.
Yeah. And then I drove halfway across the United States and all the way to Moab, Utah. Dropped the hippies off at a random dark alley in the middle of Denver. So,
All Train Nation does not endorse picking up hippies or people off of Craigslist, just for disclaimer.
Yeah.
The idea I would highly suggest it. It was very interesting and made for some amazing stories. And I got power rocks and there was stinky socks in my truck when they left. It was great.
Cheers, buddy.
Oh, nice cup. Hey, you know what, Dave? I just went on a trip this week and I had my Titan bag with me. It's the first time I used it.
I don't have
one.
Oh,
yeah. You know that bag that Dave left? Oh, that bag, Dan. Thanks.
Hey, that bag though got me about 20 good email contacts. So
nice.
It's worked out.
But there's no cars sitting in our driveway that aren't ours
currently. But yeah, so Dan has this bright idea of he was gonna to help fund his trip now to drive this vehicle to Moab because he was going to a Nissan event there. And the idea of wheeling a vehicle without you just picked up a vehicle, drove it 9 hours, then you're going another probably 18 hours or so to wheel it. To drive it all the way back to California was ridiculous, but you picked up these hippies that were supposed to give you gas money, right?
Yes, and I picked him up in the sketchiest area. My cop buddy from Chicago was like, "You're doing what? You're going where?" And I picked him up from a place he's like, "I wouldn't drive there in the day," and I was like, "Oh, that's good to know." And they were like the epitome of hippies. Like in the drive, they taught me how to they explained how you make hash oil and dreadlocks. One guy literally had a guitar on his back when I picked him up. And I'm like, man, these guys are something else. So, yeah. But nothing went wrong, theoretically.
Well, so far. Andy Ackerman in with the $9.99, starting it off with a who dis.
Thank you, sir.
It's who day, sir. It's who day.
No. Starting off with a who dis.
I know. You ruined my comedy bit.
Your comedy bit
Andy,
wasn't funny, obviously.
Thank you so much for that, by the way. So Dan, you didn't die. But they were supposed to give you gas money, right? And were you thinking driving out there? I know they didn't give you any money at first. Like, what were you thinking? Like, great, now what?
One guy gave me like $20. One guy didn't give me anything, and then I realized that he didn't have any money, and we stopped for food. He's like, "No, I'm good." So I ended up buying him lunch, and then one guy gave me like $5. And then he's like, "I got something special for you." When I'm dropping him off in a dark alley and he's digging in his bag, I'm like, "Here we go. Here it is."
You're like, "Here's how I die."
He digs around in his bag and he pulls out two power rocks. He's like, "This is dark smoky onyx and this has power. I found it in the hills of whatever." And some other tan rock. And he's like, "I want you to have these, man." It was a big deal. And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man."
Let's clarify. They pulled out rocks out of a bag and told you they were power rocks and that they would bring you power.
I mean, they were not crack rocks. They did not. I mean, they did not look like crack rocks. Yeah.
Have you had them appraised?
I truly think no, I haven't. I truly think that those guys were complete just stoners to the max. They just really enjoyed the weed. That was when that was back when Denver had just made it legal and they were like, "Oh, we're going to Denver because everybody smokes weed there." They were just hippies traveling along they were just doing their thing, man.
Right. And so in Denver you met up with a bunch of people and from kind of some Nissan crew from the
I met them I met them in Iowa. I met all the Nissan crew in Iowa.
Oh, good. So you had a backup plan in case things went
I mean,
real shady.
We convoyed to Denver.
Nice. But
at the same time, I'm meeting all these fresh new people that I'm supposed to be off-roading with for a week in Moab all week. And they looked at me and then they looked at my friends and they're like, "Oh, this guy's weird." I obviously didn't, I'm military, clean shaven. You know, I'm a pretty clean cut guy, and you know, I don't look like the kind of guy that's just
until he picked up all these hippies.
Yeah, and I remember the one guy, our buddy Steven, he was like, yeah, when we first met you, dude, we didn't know what the F was going on because with your friends, we didn't know we thought you were a freaking real whack job. And I was like, no, I don't know those guys from friggin' Sam. So,
that's great.
It was good.
But so that's the story of how me and Danny met. And you end up driving the vehicle back home and drove it for a few years as your daily, right?
Yeah, it was my daily for a few years, and then and then the day before I was supposed to go on another Moab trip where I was like a big sponsor. The whole back, I went to go pick up T-shirts for the event. Whole back of the truck is filled with T-shirts. And then I ran into an old lady and her husband in a Cadillac and totally destroyed their car and part of the front of mine.
And their sex life, right?
Yeah, probably.
I seemed like you told me something they were trying to sue you over something.
That might not have been public knowledge, sir.
I don't know. They did like, yeah, they tried to sue me for like a couple $1 million or something like that, but they never went to the doctor or something. I don't know. Who knows?
The guy driving a Nissan Xterra is probably not got a couple $1 million.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of tomato they were trying to bleed.
Right. So around 2000, end of 2014, I kept bugging Dan because I would call Danny, and Danny was such a personality when you talked to him. And I was like, Dan, I'm going to start this podcast, and I need entertainment with me. And
I said, what's a podcast?
And Danny was just like, sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Danny didn't know what a podcast was.
I didn't either. Yeah, like neither of us really knew we knew what podcasts were, but we didn't know what the F we were doing.
Right.
We were like, Dave, obviously you're the one with all the friggin' buttons. And Dave's like, you want to be in a podcast? I'm like, just sit here and talk about stuff. Yeah, sure. Whatever, dude. I can talk all day.
Yeah. And he's like putting money out. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Like for obviously those that know, like he's the dreamer and I'm the realist. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, sure. You do you, boo. Like, do whatever you want.
Yep. So we did that for 5 years. Nissan sent us on two fun press trips because of it.
Many years going to Moab, going to Tennessee, like me flying out to Tennessee, doing that event out there. I mean, we've spent some like really crazy adventures. You flying out to LA and driving around Utah. I think it was Utah. I can't even remember where we went.
Colorado. That red eye. You just loved me for that red eye.
Yeah.
I think
Colorado.
We loved you for that.
Yeah, we've go ahead.
Dan picks me up at LAX, and Dan's not a real much of a cusser guy, really. And this is at 1 a.m. We're going through traffic trying to get out of LA, and Dan was like, "I fucking hate this place, man. I just fucking hate this place."
In my defense, I texted with you and said, "How does this time work? Does this work for you?" I didn't just book it and say, "Hey, Danny, Dave's coming in at X amount of time."
Yeah. I was like, yeah, whatever. That's good.
Whatever.
Then I realized, like, I got to drive. I mean, truthfully, like, I'd rather to drive to LAX at 1 a.m. every day, any day, than drive there at 6 p.m. or in the evening or 8 a.m. or something like that. So, I mean, on one, like, really, I try not to drive to LA for any reason whatsoever, ever.
Well, and but we've had a lot of adventures, man. And the big one was when Nissan invited me and you to go to
Jackson Hole,
Wyoming. They were wanting us to drive some Titans, and I think they were trying to figure out how did they get press and enthusiasts together. And of course, me and you at the time were somewhere in between of that, anyways.
Yeah, we were like almost influencers before influencers like real influencers,
right? And
before influencers did things other than just showed their butts off.
That's right.
Yeah. We were like the original OnlyFans.
The OGs.
But we didn't make any money.
No.
We didn't show any body parts either, though.
Nope.
I would have. If I would have known.
Yeah.
Right.
We'd
have known. Or you could have sold farts in a jar, right? I mean.
Hey, don't knock what Danny does. You don't know
whatever pays the bill, man.
We haven't got that part of the podcast yet. Or the live stream.
But I'll never forget me and you flying. I flew into Jackson Hole and I got there before you did. And I ended up, I dressed prepared because I land surveyor. I kind of work outside knowing, and Danny is SoCal guy where your cold days are like, what, 65, 70 degrees?
Yeah, if it's down in the 60s, dude, I'm going flannels and pants and wool socks on.
Nissan was smart enough. They gave everybody nice, expensive
Little parka
jackets.
type jackets. Yeah, those
Yeah,
are nice. I
and
still got mine.
yeah, it's still got mine. And that was about, I think, all Danny had for warm clothing, because I remember you had some scarf or something you started wrapping around your face.
I remember
like,
seeing
yeah.
a picture and I was like, is that Dan?
Yeah,
Danny?
I had like
All I
my
see is
shemagh that I keep like dust out in the deserts. Like,
Yeah.
I know how to do deserts. I'm solid in the desert. Like cold, I mean, and I can do cold at night in the desert, but like cold all the time, that's a different
I'm
story.
going to disagree, because that overland trip that we did,
Cold and sleepover?
Yeah, no,
I'm just saying.
No, the one you froze your ass off in. We were in Utah, and where we drove from Vegas to or we were going to Colorado, and Dan had a rooftop tent, and I was flying out to Vegas to meet Dan and hoping Danny had sleeping bags. And
he said he said he was bringing everything.
yeah,
I brought you a sleeping bag.
You did do that, but that first night, that's about all you had was about a 30-degree sleeping bag, and this was in August.
Luckily, Dave had the hand warmers because we broke them things out real quick. We were getting real.
Yeah.
How many hand warmers did he have, or did you guys share?
I had to give him. They were hand warmers. They were junk warmers. They were feet warmers. I was about 3 degrees from climbing into his bag. I'll tell you that.
It's true.
You should have just zippered them together and snuggled.
That would have been that. Like
sure.
I said, 3 degrees. It would have been one bag. Two dudes, one bag. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But we ended up we drove from Vegas all the way to Ouray, Colorado, or however you say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And we did Black Bear and all those fun trails. And I remember getting
we went to
altitude sickness because we came out of altitude so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, we
were
way up, and you were like, I'm not great. I think Black Bear is like up at like 13,000, or maybe that other pass that we did was.
We did Imogene, which is higher.
I think Imogene is it's like high 13s. I think.
Yeah. And then we drove straight from there to that campsite in Moab.
Yeah. Oh, and then the Black Bear. We almost had a Black Bear on our drive out.
Yeah,
I don't believe it.
So many adventures,
Danny
man.
I love
it.
Danny surprises me on this trip and goes, "Hey, Dave, I've got to work Monday morning." And this was like Saturday night.
I had booked a hotel in Vegas for the two of them.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know I was invited to that.
Yeah, I booked a hotel with 2 beds just so you both could like crash out.
But so we come out of this, we fold the tent up like 5 a.m. and we're folding, like we're creeping out of we're that girl holding her shoes, that dude holding his shoes trying to creep out.
Yeah. It was the morning after walkout, dude, because we're like, all right, we had a fun time, but we got to get out of here.
So we're both.
Hey, Dan's internet's better at this house.
I know.
Sorry, go ahead.
But we're both trying to be quiet. We're waking up, and Danny clearly has a race truck. Danny loves to drive on dirt roads as fast as possible. And you were bajaing through these roads, and all of a sudden there was a brown or black bear stood up right in the middle of the road, like Yogi, and he looks at us like this, and me and Dan look at each other like, and I'm fumbling trying to get my phone out because I'm like, nobody's ever going to believe, because I didn't know there were bear in Moab. And I'm stumbling trying to get a picture, and it looked at us and darted off. And I remember me and you just being like,
I don't believe it.
Nobody's ever going to believe this story, man, that there was a bear here. But
yeah, I don't, because you didn't get pictures. Pics or
I tried.
Didn't happen.
Yep, that's it.
But Danny scared the piss out of me on Black Bear because he was talking and doing whatever, and I've seen too many rollovers. And I told Dan, I was like, because the edge was getting on my side of it, and it was getting a little close. And I told Dan, I said, "Hey, let me get you some cool pictures. Let me just do that for you."
Sorry, my wife has just now seen me from not seeing me for a week.
Hi, wife.
Hi, Miss. Hi,
Billy
Miss.
and Dave, say hi. Come and say hi. And she just flashed me. So, all right,
it's all
guys,
about ratings, Dan.
Gotta go.
It's all about the ratings.
Give us 10 more minutes, Dan. Give us 10 more minutes.
No, I'm just like,
wife, give us 10 more minutes.
Cool.
What's funny is that's not the first time that's happened.
It's true. That's very true.
No, on the Nissan show, every once in a while, Dan be in his garage and he was like, "Well, happened."
Oh, hey, and that's a wrap.
Gotta go, boys.
Oh man, but so we've had some crazy adventures, and And like I got to drive the race truck behind you when it was still in its street form. We were at the California Super Speedway, and Danny was out there racing Nissan Z's.
Hold on, Dave.
Yeah.
I love this is why I'm really bummed I haven't been on the show for so long. This is why I love coming on the show with you, is because like we've had so many freaking adventures together.
Yeah.
And like I remember all of them, but like when you bring them up, it's like it brings them back in. And good gracious, we have had so much freaking fun together, man. Go on.
I know I
with your
forget
story.
about it until you start talking about it.
Yeah, I forget about
All I
all
remember
these
is diet
things.
pizza and how freaking hung over, or maybe even still drunk you were, getting in the back of my Xterra for the ladies run. You sponsored the ladies run, and I'm like, everybody's ready, lined up, and here we go.
I was so hungover.
And
I took
I'm
a
like,
nap in the dirt.
I told Dave,
man.
I was like, Dan said he wanted to come on this. He's not here. He's like, go stop at the cabin. We stop at the cabin and stumbles out Danny, like, and then there's at some point you go, hold on a second, pull over.
Maybe I don't remember that part at all. Never happened.
Those are the adventures I remember. I don't get as many amazingly fond as you guys get. Because you've had
totally, like, it's such a good memory, Dave. So I didn't want to cut you off too much, but please tell that story because I love that story.
Which one? I was
Nissan. We were at the Nissan
LA.
Z event.
Oh yeah, yeah.
LA.
So we
this
went
is when
to.
This is when you flew out for your birth. Like Kelly got a flight for Dave, the red eye. Flew out for his birthday to my house, and that's when we went to this big Nissan Z event down here in SoCal.
Well, keep going because I want to bring. We have a video from this. I can pop up.
Oh
here
yes.
Real quick.
So Dave comes out, red eye, flies in, and get him to the house. We crash overnight, and I think that night. Well, I don't even remember. We quick threw some stuff on the truck. The truck had been sitting in my garage doing nothing. This is after I crashed it. It was just sitting in my garage. It needed a little bit of things. And so we kind of threw some, I think I threw a radiator in it, and we threw an electric fan on the radiator because the fan wasn't even on it. And my buddy from way up north came down and helped do some things. And then the next day we trailered what's now my race truck, but at the time it was pretty much stock. It was upgraded and stuff, but I don't even know if the interior was ripped out at that point.
No, it wasn't.
No. So we trailered it up there, and in the Nissan Z event, it has a bunch of fiberglass fenders. It's Titan swapped. It's got a little bumper on it.
Mud terrain tires.
Yeah. And we were like, let's do this rally cross event in this lifted truck. Cause we were just the odd man out. It was all cars at this event. And we were just kind of this random two dudes. Guys, from Nissan Nation podcast with NISFest 2015. We're going to take the Xterra out on the autocross track. Let's go. Oh, I love this.
So off-roaders don't usually do this?
Too much traction. Way fun.
That boat.
Yeah.
Just spinning tires around the corner.
At this point, I'm cussing Danny because I have control issues.
No, not you.
The body roll on that thing was so extreme. You're just ah! The seats weren't holding you where they need to hold you because they're just some stock seats. So you're like, ah!
No, but that was that, and so this is a little chubbier, Dave.
Man, that was
keep trying to get back to this point in my life.
Chubby Dave, you keep working on Chubby Dave, and you have to keep fighting him.
Yep.
No, he keeps working on anti-Chubby Dave.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Chubby Dave keeps trying to knock on the door, and you're like, get the F out of here, Chubby Dave.
Yeah. So we'll go through this kind of real quick.
And then stupid life kicks you in the balls.
There's me and Dan having no clue. We didn't know anybody at this thing. They did invite us there, though.
Yeah.
But we have no clue of what we're doing.
They've got an exhaust competition going down
Which
there.
explains why you only got 300 views on this one.
Oh
if
yeah,
you like horsepower, this is it, man.
Yeah, they got.
But
DJs
this was 2015 that we've been doing YouTube for a long time, but we didn't really know what we were doing.
And I had hired my buddy to come out,
Yeah. I was
gonna say it's so
and make this video for us.
Half of the NASCAR track and then the infield track.
Let's see.
Well, let's see.
We met some interesting people here, man.
Oh, that's right.
Spray painted in the alley.
Nice.
This dude spray painted his old Datsun.
in an alley.
71 Datsun 521.
But yeah, so we've had a bunch of fun adventures, man.
Man.
And which bums
Love
me
it.
out that you ended up. I had told you I would be there for your first race, and it just like it came up quick of like
It really did. It was one of those things that like I was literally drunk at a bar with my race partner that I race with. My sponsor, Tire Pros. My buddy owns the Tire Pros, and we were literally at a bar, and he's like, "When are we going to race that thing?" And I was like, "It's so close. I just need like a couple weekends to get it ready." And I said, I think there's a race in a few months. I think we were talking in March. And I was like, you know what? I think there's a race, and I was literally like in the middle of buying a house, which is a real wild thing to do in California. It's a ridiculous thing to do. Don't ever do that. and I was like, we should just sign up, and then it'll light a fire under us. So we sign up for a race in what is it, October? Yeah, it was a week ago, in October 18, and I had just got my house sold, and we were moving in a new house. But the thing is like when you sign up for a race, for this one, for like the cheapest way to get into the race, it was $1,000. That's like the sportsman class. If I wanted to do the pro class, which would have been like more competitive to what I'm racing, it would have been $2,000. So I was like, we'll just go in the class 2,000. It's like a sportsman's class. There's literally nothing on the line for it. It's just, we just wanted to get in the race and go do it. I was like, let's just do it. And we were drunk, and I'm like sitting there on the phone, like, we're going to sign up for this race. Sure enough, we signed up for the race. And then like, I'm in between houses. The race truck is over at his shop, but his shop is crazy busy. So and like he does tires. It's not like a race shop. You know what I'm saying? So his truck, it's just sitting out front being a cool race truck almost. And then I get it back, and literally I had 5 days to prep the truck to race from like a 3/4 race truck. Like everything big was done, but when you get in the rule books and you have to, I was ordering stickers, and I was putting plates on the back, and I was ordering little rollover valves for the fuel tank, and making window nets, and all these little minutia that you have to do in order to pass tech for a race truck. I was like 12 hours a day in the garage. I took a whole week off of work. I had a 4-day weekend, and then I took a whole week off of work to get it done. So I was just like running my friggin' brains out, because it snuck up on me, because I was like, I know I'm gonna race, but there was nothing I could do until I was in my new garage, in my new house. Yeah. And I moved into my new house in like mid to late August. So I had to first move into my house, because I had we were living out of my RV at the beach.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you had sold your house in the spring, and there was a condition to buy this house that they couldn't move out and this is kind of a dream house for you. So you couldn't move out or couldn't move in till.
I couldn't move in till August 1st. So I spent 3 or 4 weeks moving in. So it was like late August by the time I started just getting the house livable to where we could live. And then so it was like September, and I'd had a couple weekends kind of where it was like half work on the house and do a little bit of work on the racetrack. But for racetrack stuff, you have to dedicate a solid chunk of time in order to do stuff. So it was crazy. It was crazy getting ready.
Right. And but you've been working on this truck. If they don't know, you've been working on this truck just when you can for about 5 years, right?
7, Dave.
7. And I remember you giving me crap that I didn't have my solid axle swap done in a year. And yeah, Dan.
I remember those days.
Of course, Dan's project was a little more expensive than mine, but still.
You know what? It's just, you live and learn, Dave. You live and learn. I've learned so much in the past 7 years. I've learned so freaking much. And I learned a lot on Friday when I raced. I learned just one more day of learning processes. But
So how did that go? You sign up, and for those that don't know, Danny is into desert racing. He's in Southern California, where you've got all the fun stuff. Johnson Valley, if you want to just go balls out and just have a lot of fun. A lot of we have little short track racing here, little NASCARs kind of stuff. But you guys out there love to desert race.
Yeah, most of the desert racing is in the Western United States, usually Nevada, California, a little bit of Arizona, some stuff in El Paso, but that's a little bit more grassroots, like very grassroots. For the most part, you'll see a lot of stuff in Nevada. There's Vegas to Reno. There's the Mint 400, which is outside of Vegas. Laughlin, which is California, Arizona border kind of. So most of that stuff happens out here in these big, huge desert areas where it's two-wheel drive and we're just driving high speed. You know, everybody knows Baja 1000, but it's kind of the same thing, but in a slightly smaller scale in the US, you know. So it's been my passion since 2000. It was something that I've wanted to do since 2000. I got introduced to it on a pit crewing for BF Goodrich down in Baja, Mexico, and the bug bit me, and I said one day I'm going to do this, and I got to a point to where I was like, you know, I can kind of do this.
Don't say afford.
Yeah, I can't afford it, but financially, if you know, over time, I might be able to slowly sneak money away. Yeah. So I've been sliding money away and buying parts for this truck for 7 years and getting, you know, I've been learning the entire time, and that's one of the best things about this journey that I'm on is I've learned since I started to this point, like what it takes to build a race truck, but like all the do's and don'ts. I've had to do things on this thing 3 times on some parts because, you know, I was dumb and I bought a bunch of parts and I put it in and everybody's like, that's not gonna last more than an hour, dude. You know, right. I'm like, oh great, you know, so I buy new parts and stupid things like the window nets. I'm on my 3rd set of window nets and I got to buy a new set because the setup that I have is completely ridiculous. It's just a learning process. And I learned so much just from this race, going out and actually racing. It's a production. It's a huge production. So to kind of get back to to the present time, we drove out on we drove out on Wednesday. And we were going to pre-run on Thursday. The race day was Friday. We were going to pre-run on Wednesday. And a freak storm comes in and it's like randomly dumping rain and stuff. And we're like, we're not going out in this. And then we hear from everybody at the race course, because we're parked in the pit or right behind the pit area. And everybody's telling us this is let me start off by saying Barstow, California. It's just a big desert area. There's a city there, but it's kind of like Methville. So there's a big city out in the desert there. But outside the desert, there's an off-road vehicle area. And that's where they set up this course and they go out and they map it out and you get your GPS, etc. So they gave the course out on Wednesday and people went out and pre-run it. And all these pre-run guys that I was camping around and talking to, you know, other racers, they were like, this is the most hardcore course I've ever seen in the last 10 years. And I was like, oh, that's good. I'm glad this is my first race. They're like, somebody tracked this course out in a 4-wheel drive razor at a slow speed. They're like, you're going to destroy your truck. And I was like, oh, good.
Yay.
Now my heartbeat is slower now. I appreciate the candidness. And sure enough, it was like I literally drove 15 miles in this course and I ruined one tire. Like one tire is completely destroyed. If you go to my Instagram, I'm DaGrootx on Instagram and on YouTube. You can see I did a race recap, etc. But it was gnarly. And then I saw a bunch of other teams and there was 7 people in our class and I think only 2 of them finished. It was just the most gnarly course ever. There was guys that were just backing out because they said, I'm going to go race this course and I'm going to spend $8,000 to $10,000 rebuilding my truck after I go on this course.
Wow.
This video right here is literally where I went off the course because it was this off camber steep hill, partially driver error. Anyways, check it out on my YouTube, subscribe, like, hit the heart button.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah. So it was super harsh. And, there was definitely some lessons learned. But the biggest thing for me was getting the truck off the starting line and going and getting some experience. My co-driver had never been in the passenger seat of a race truck. So there was like a
Oh, wow.
steep learning curve on those 15 miles. There was a lot of communication going back and forth between the two of us about, what needs to happen and, call the turns quicker. There was a couple times we went off course. But I will say, like, my co-driver is one of my oldest and best friends. He's a little bit too much like me, which is horrible to be. Not a very prepared guy. He got his like fire suit and Hans device like literally the day before we left. So now I have a good understanding of what it's like to be my friend. So
right. And you'd co-piloted a little bit, so you started getting a taste for it. And
yes, I've been in the race in the desert race world for a while now, for probably about the last 4 years. I've co-piloted 2 different trucks, and I've been in 3 or 4 races. I can't remember. But I've been in the Mint 400 in Vegas to Reno. So I have a good understanding of what goes into it, how much support you need. And I had 8 guys show up, or 7 guys show up to pit crew for me. So I was pretty set up for the race, in which I was super stoked because there was just so many, like, when you work on something for 7 years and you have a dream and you're going to do something like that, when people actually show up, because I've had a just, probably 50 people be like, "Oh, when you race, let me know." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, we'll see. And this is not a dig at you, Dave, because I know that you.
No,
I was gonna say, ooh,
this
I
has
feel
nothing to do with you. I know where me and you stand, and I have this is nothing negative on you, but most people are just, they're all talk, but the guys that showed up, and they went through my truck. We found so many loose bolts, like the day before the race. We found loose bolts on the control arms, on the leaf springs, just so many things that, like, when I'm focused on all these little race things, like, the truck's just been in my garage for forever, and we need to do. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. But like, we found out that the rear shocks didn't have any nitrogen in them. 0. Like, the day before race day, 0 nitrogen.
No.
And we had driven around, and I'm like, this thing is bouncy as hell. And it turns out there was 0 shock absorption going on, so we went by the King booth, and they like topped off all our nitrogen, set up all our pressures on our shocks, on our bump stops. So they were amazing. So yeah, Kings all the way, Cigar Texan. Those guys saved my first part of my race. I mean, but it would have been a real ugly first part of the race. But yeah, having that crew of guys there was just like I was almost brought to tears by the amount of support that I got from my wife. She made crew shirts. She made shirts for everybody in the pit crew, and she came out with the kids. And I mean, I didn't even make it around to 1 lap, but still. But it was.
Hey, Dan,
it was.
How drunk were we right here?
Oh, dude. Wasted. That's. Is that the second one or the first one?
That's the first one.
Was that the first
Oh,
or
yeah.
the second one?
Yeah, the first one we were.
Oh, and they went on 2 epic trips together, just for the record.
Hey,
Yeah.
you didn't
Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and then Park City, Utah.
you
Yeah.
didn't want to be a part of that.
The last night
they-
of Park City, Utah was a good night.
Park City, Utah, too. They stayed in a hotel that either of us will never, ever, ever afford in our real lives.
Danny had a
never.
2-story house.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Neither of us will ever
Yeah.
afford in our real life.
And Jim
Yeah, it
Bob
was-
had a 3-story.
Yeah, we looked it up. It was $3,000 a night if you wanted to rent it as a regular Joe on that. It was an apartment complex. We each got our own apartment.
Except for Dave. Dave
Luxury.
got a hotel.
Yeah. It was a luxury apartment that each of us got. Oh man, shooting clays. We were out shooting
Which
clay.
because I just had shoulder surgery, and I wasn't even going to go to this trip. I
Oh,
told the boys, I was like, I probably shouldn't go because I was like 3 or 4 weeks out of shoulder surgery. And I'm not, as you can see, not in my
I
sling
remember
because
that. I remember that.
Yeah, he was
You
supposed to
were
be in a
hurt-
sling.
You were
Just
hurting
saying.
bad. I remember that
Yeah.
trip. You did not do well on the late nights. I mean, I will say, like, props to you for, like, in hindsight, props to you for hanging as late as you did, for doing all the things that we did. Like, I can only imagine how, like, you were pushing. I mean, I know how it is when I'm feeling shitty, but I'm like on such an epic adventure. I'm like, like FOMO's kicking in.
Yeah.
You want to be part of, like, you don't want to miss
I
the
went, like,
stories.
when you were shooting clays, I went, me and Danny, because we dropped our bags off and was like, all right, it's time to go shoot clays. And of course, they knew. I'd told Nissan, hey, I can't really participate
100%.
much,
Yeah.
but and and I'm just kind of watching Dan have fun shooting these clays. And I was like, fuck, man, I was like, no, better not.
Yeah.
But no, these corporate trips like that are so much fun. But so Dan, you do the race there. I mean, there had to be, even though like you had your ups and downs with it, that had to be a pretty at minimum 7 years, and it's really like 21 years.
Yeah, it was 21 years dream, 7 years of hard work, and I mean hard work to get the money, and then hard work in the garage. We'll say 4 years of garage work and 7 years of just trying to find money. I ended up selling my business, and part of that money went into the race truck. I bought a beautiful 300Z that I loved, that I like cried to get rid of, but I had to get rid of it because I had too many projects, and so I sold that, and literally I sold that, and the profit I had off that went into the race truck. It was just sad. But yeah, I raced 15 miles. I ended up sliding off of a mountain sideways. And then I thought we could get down this mountain and get back to the race course. And we drove down into a gully, got stuck, broken axle trying to get out with a bunch of traction boards and over revving the engine. So it was a learning experience. I should have just hung out on the side of the mountain and got towed back on the race truck or race truck. But it's a learning experience. We all make many mistakes in our lives, and that was one of them. But like, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was so much fun. In hindsight, like, I'm okay if we didn't go through the race. It would have sucked to go through that whole race course. Truthfully, I'm not happy that I broke. I would have Ironman and just pushed through, and it would have been that much more amazing to get to the finish line, do all the laps. It's a 300-mile race, so it's almost 300. It's 370-mile laps. It was supposed to be 4, but the course was so hard they ended up only doing 3. But it would have been amazing to get up on the podium, of course. But we learned a lot. My co-driver got a little bit of experience. The truck was running flawlessly up until it slid off. I slid off into the dirt. And in my YouTube channel, there's actually a video of me when I get off.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You get into the soft rock, sandy area, and you're staring up at the sky. Of course, it doesn't do it justice like any off-road video or picture does. But we did what we did. Anything after me getting off the starting line was gravy for me. So I'm happy that I had the experience that I did. We'll fix the truck. We'll get back out there, and we'll try again. So now it's just chasing finish lines,
or halfway points. Because we used to give Dan was with this team called Team Xterra Racing, and Dan your first race was so freaking pumped up, and that team was such a disappointment because they would go test for 500 miles and get in a race and break. The first one was like 38 miles.
It was 58. It was like 68 or something.
Started betting.
Yeah, so we started taking bets. And speaking of taking bets, Dan, did you see this bad boy?
I did. And before we get into that, Dave, I still have a beer fridge right next to me. I'm going to snag a beer.
Nice.
Grab it.
No, this is the best part, Dan. I don't have a beer fridge next to me, so
I was thinking the other day, since my real job is over there, I was thinking, we kind of need a little fridge up here. I could just run over here, grab water.
Monster needs to supply me with a Monster fridge right there.
Yeah, but you know how big we have to get for Monster.
It's not quite as within like grabbing range as before when I used to be on the show.
Yeah,
but it's close enough to still be within 2-second break.
Well, speaking of grabbing range, man, we spent a lot of time covering Nissan over the years, and of course, I'm still a fanboy of the brand. Even though we have the Bronco, and Dan used to give me shit even about the Bronco, how I was never going to get one, and I don't have one. Kelly has a Bronco, but we
sorry, y'all.
Oh, sorry. But this thing come out for SEMA, and I was supposed to be at SEMA this year, and just the economy and everything budget wise was not going to allow me to
and everybody started dropping like flies.
Yeah,
let's be honest, it was twofold.
Yeah, so it kind of scared me that Ford and everybody started dropping out. But Nismo USA dropped this today, man, and they partnered with Chris Forsberg for basically a Titan swapped V8 powered Frontier. And the cool thing about it is we've seen over the years, man, me and you especially have seen so many, like the Nissan Titan transmission and engine will drop right in this truck. It's almost near flawless to put it in, and you have a V8 powered little mini truck. The cool thing back in the day, though, when we were doing it, the V8 was like 315 horsepower, and we were like, oh my god, all this power. Now the V8 is 400 horsepower, and that's almost not even like enough power anymore compared to what all's coming out, man. But what's your opinion on this truck?
So first off, Dave, like the hood is so sick. I mean, the look of the truck is absolutely phenomenal. Like I love how this truck looks.
Mm-hmm.
When you start digging into it, I think the suspension is a touch budget.
Yes,
it's definitely just a lift. It is like from what I can tell, it is Titan swapped. So it does have the bigger. It has a Titan width. I'm guessing that they probably used extended axles. I don't think they threw a whole Titan diff in it. It probably has longer axles.
yeah, I know the rear is a rear Titan diff, full axle in the thing, and
Yeah.
they talk about very loosely their press releases like, oh, we stretched the front end out, basically.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it's
okay.
really Titan. It's Titan swapped. It's a beautiful truck. It would be so great to get into that thing and just burn dirt. It's not going to be crazy capable as far as like, I mean, they call it like a desert runner or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it would do really well off road,
Mhm.
but it's not you're not going to do much.
No, remember in
in a high
19
speed scenario.
the real desert runner they built in 19.
Yeah, it's nothing.
That was a real
that desert runner that you showed in your video on this vehicle, it's the same suspension that I have in my race truck. Now that's I mean, it's actually downgraded a smidge, but that's a legitimate high-speed desert truck, and it's a turbocharged V8 in that one, if I remember right. And like that thing was a complete freaking ripper.
Oh yeah.
This is a really beautiful SEMA truck. Specifically, it's a SEMA truck. It's mostly show, not a lot of go.
Well, so we really haven't got to talk much because we really haven't talked on the show for a year when these trucks were just starting to pop out,
The
man.
new body style.
Where are you at with this truck, man? I know, because you still have your Frontier.
Yeah.
Danny's got an amazing looking Frontier that we've adventured the piss out of that thing, and then you even on top.
I've actually driven it a little bit.
You've been rode hard, put away wet for sure.
Yeah, but I have to say, like at first I was like, it's okay, but it's really grown into me once you put some aggressive tires and stuff on it like this, and of course this having.
I like this a lot.
Yeah, they should. We broke the news that the Nismo Frontier was going to come out at some point, and they should build this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good like overland setup.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like this setup, you can go do a lot of stuff. Good 4-wheel drive. You can go cruise through Moab. You could probably go through a bunch of stuff at a decent rate of speed and stuff like that. I'm not knocking it, but sometimes I feel like they think that it can do a lot more, or they market it in a way that it can do a lot more. And I'm completely biased now that I've been through the desert at high speed and I know what it takes, and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous what you have to do in order to go high speed through the desert. Upwards of 20 miles an hour, you're starting to really break things. I do have one comment, Dave, is you were talking, and it might be like a small, stupid thing, but you were talking about the rear tires in the far back and they should be in the middle.
I said push them forward.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
Which
better than me on that.
Bring it.
Classic move. The tires should be in the farther back. It should keep the nose up and keep the nose floating. You have a lot of weight in the front of the vehicle, so you want that nose. And I mean, why I have my tires way in the back and my fuel cell way in the back. You want that nose up when you're doing desert stuff. You want it to kind of, I mean, that's kind of like the California lean, the stupid pre-runner thing. Yeah. But at the same time, you want to have the nose up so the back's bouncing around like that and your nose is staying up in the air. If not, you get now I mean, this is all show.
Yes,
as
which I
well,
think I
so-
commented in that video that it
Yeah.
was built. It's
So
more about symmetry and looking cool.
I doubt they have any like real shock package on this thing whatsoever.
It's
So
got
kinda-
a dual reservoir system that Nismo sells now.
Okay, so I mean, it might have a good shock package on it. Like to me, it's kind of a moot point. But the first time I heard that, I was like, "No, Dave, you gotta have a shock. Your tires are back, get the weight back," and getting all race truck nerdy on you.
I
then
love
I
it
was
when
like,
people
eh.
prove him wrong. I love it.
I've not been
That's-
proved
That
wrong.
was my job for many years.
Yes.
No, but I've not been
Disagree with
proven
Dave.
wrong because, as Danny said earlier, this is not a desert truck. This is a off-road overlanding truck, and you still don't want all that in that situation. I don't think you want all the weight in the rear.
No.
I would still put my tire. I wouldn't. I mean, the fact that they're running 2 spares is just for show. I would
Yes.
never
Yeah.
run 2 spares on that truck. There's no. Like I don't know who's driving this. Maybe you need 2 spares. If Chris Forsberg is
Maybe.
driving this off road, they need 2 spares.
Well,
You know
and
what I'm saying?
maybe they did it for aesthetics. Because I'll be honest,
it really is
I
aesthetic.
like
They
it a
wanted-
lot better.
Yeah, they want it
with
to
the 2
look
on
like a
back.
desert truck with the 2 standing up spares. So like it looks like it's supposed to if it was like some kind of high speed desert truck. And I will say that I like a little bird told me, and I don't even remember who the little bird told me it was, but I heard that Nissan wants to get back into off-road racing in Baja.
Mhm.
So maybe this is their first kind of like, hey, look, cool. Maybe Forsberg's gonna, get a super cool built a body
He's
on.
too worried about drifting the Z right now. He don't have time for this truck.
Who knows? I don't know who is. I'm willing to do it, but I kind of highly doubt that. But
Yeah.
it would be so rad for Nissan to get back into it. Again, it was a little bird told me, and take it for what it's worth. But it would
Sure.
be really cool if Nissan got into like some serious desert racing and sponsored a team again. Because they were a powerhouse back in the day. Roger Mears.
Well, back to the old stadium
all
tours.
Yeah,
I know Ivan gets all the credit, but Nissan was always neck and neck with him.
yeah.
I want to say
yeah,
Rick
yeah,
Mears was in some of that. and-
Roger Mears, and
Roger
then
Mears.
who was the other one? I did a video about it. I don't even remember. We may have posted on your channel as well. But yeah, there's a huge history about of what Nissan did in the off-road community back in the hard body days and stuff like that. So, but when it all comes down to it, I love the look of this truck. It is that would be a very capable off-road vehicle. You could probably bomb around the desert decently in that. You couldn't go through any whoops or anything crazy, but yeah, like a solid reservoir Bilstein. That's it's a good suspension. Probably
Would be
very
even better if you
comfortable.
went completely coil. Instead of
Well,
sticking
that's
with leaf
a
springs.
yeah, but that would require 4 links, and that's when you get real.
I know.
That's
Well,
that's when you
Toyota
get
didn't
real.
seem to have that issue. The one flaw is this right here that I'm pull up, and then we'll leave this in the dust. This is one of the worst looking bumpers I've ever seen, and I've
A flat
repeatedly
plate. Yeah,
I
legitimately
repeatedly
a
said
flat
this
plate.
in their videos many times, and they have shrank it down a little bit because it used to look like that dude from Family Guy that had the big chin that sticks out.
Yeah,
And Hefty Fabworks has a similar design, but much more
so much
tucked
better.
in.
Yeah, that
Um,
flat piece in the front could like the right under where the toe hooks are. It could angle down right where the toe hooks are, and it would be
Yep,
way
start to angle there.
better. Yeah.
Well, so you've got this sensor right here is the problem, and then you're trying
Yeah,
to
the
tuck a
crash
winch in
sensor.
under it. But there's a few companies. I think CBI has a nice bumper for this truck now. But I will say, like, it looks aggressive, and like you said, that hood.
That
I
hood
did
is so
so-
sick, dude.
I did that video and didn't even notice the hood.
How did you not know?
I don't know how
I know. Yeah, I know it. I know it. Like one of the things I kept waiting for you to talk about the hood. I'm like, the hood it's brilliant. It's beautiful. Like it's just like
Yes.
so. Like the hood growls at you. And
Yes.
I mean, on top of that, you have a V8 and now you have a hood that like it says like, yeah, we got power in this son B. Like, let's get down.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
You know what it
so
reminds me of?
sad.
TRX.
a little bit.
Yeah. It's very
Except
TRX.
the TRX has a supercharger and needs all this cooling.
But you know I'm a fan of the TRX,
I bet
which
you
is
the
why
power
I'm
to weight
saying you
ratio
notice
is
the hood.
close. I bet you the power to weight ratio is close.
No,
You don't think so?
dude.
I've been in a TRX. I
have you
know
driven
I
a
know
TRX though?
No, I was with my buddy. Like, that
Have
is the
you
most
wheeled a
obnoxious-
TRX?
I haven't. It's the most obnoxious truck I ever built.
We have.
Okay, I know.
Twice. And
But
a Rebel 1500. Just saying.
No, that was a
also,
2500.
No, it was a 1500.
I've done
Yes, it was.
ridiculous things in a Rebel.
Give me that.
The do you agree the TRX is one of the most obnoxious trucks to hit the market ever?
So we've not really, me and you talked to early in this channel as we talked, that's when the TRX came out. We talked a little bit about it, but dude, after driving one, it's the most ridiculous. It's a super truck is what it is.
It's obnoxiously ridiculous.
Yes, but it's so much
There's
fun.
not enough. There's
Like,
not enough.
it's not obnoxious.
Adjectives.
Yes, but to hear that supercharger, just that
Charger.
whine.
It's so loud. It's so freaking loud.
Yeah, like I think they took all the sound deadening off of the engine bay.
Yeah.
It's pure. It's just pure car sex, man. But no, dude, to get Dan, the first time I did a video last year about it. When I got behind the wheel, I pushed start on the thing, and she didn't realize what we were getting in, and she heard that, and she looked at me, and I have it on video somewhere where she just was like, "Oh my god, we're driving this," and
It's like the first look of like the bride and the groom. Legit is how it was for me. I was like, oh, that's beautiful.
No, I think we know that O sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's like it's the bad O sound. You're like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's bigger than I thought. No,
But what? I don't get that.
I swear.
Oh, it's smaller than I thought.
Yeah. No, it's a lie. I thought it was big.
But dude, so we did.
You promised differently.
We did time last year in Texas. We're in spit takes over here. And I test drove one, and I did a small video on it that will not get any views. It has maybe less than 300 views. But I don't care because I did it because I wanted to drive the thing. Like it was.
Yeah.
I told Kelly that this is just for me.
Yeah, when my buddy wanted to buy one, and he had a Rebel. It's lifted on like 37s, and he was like, I need something more capable, because he went out and like jumped it when I was jumping my race truck, and there's a video of that back on my YouTube channel. I jumped like 6 feet in the air, and he's like, I'm gonna try that jump, and I'm like, all right, dude. And he has suspension on it, but it's mostly bolt-on style. Like, I think it's like a rough country with like upgraded shocks. He jumps his truck and stuff, and like he's kind of a jabroni when it comes to like he just beat the piss out of the truck. But anyway, so he wanted to buy a TRX, and we went and we drove it, and they're like, yeah, here's the keys. And we went, and like he was just beating on this thing, and like the entire time, of course, your lips are at your ears because you're smiling so much, because it is the man porn star of trucks. Like it is just a big gobber of a truck, and the entire time you're like, this is, I don't know if this is too much, I can't stop watching, kind of a thing. Like it is just so ridiculous. It is just the whine coming out of it and the power smashing you in the back of the seat. It is absolutely one of the most ridiculous trucks that's been built, and it's it's 4-linked in the, like, I could go on and on. It's 4-linked, but
then
then
you get a modern Raptor, which Ford wants to say, oh, the Raptor is, it's a badass. And you're like, that's 450 horse, dude. That does not compare at all to that TRX. Now, granted, they're sort of playing in different, the TRX is not a desert runner. It's somewhere in between like a street truck and off-road truck somewhere.
Yeah.
But and no,
the Raptor has its place. I can't compare them. They're kind, like you said, they're kind of two different trucks. Truthfully, they wanted to just like smash them out of the ballpark and be like the TRX is like, they're just flexing on them, and you're like, well, this guy, like, that I feel like the Raptor is a more usable, more like friendly desert truck, and the TRX is like, hey, check out how big my schlongster is, dude. Like, hey, it touches the ground when I squat. Like, it's ridiculous.
And I will tell you, it's actually kind of funny how flexible it was on some of.
It's good
compared to the Rebel. Like the Rebel 2500.
It's
the guy was in the truck
better.
and he's like, it's okay, you can go up a little bit because I'm driving it, and I'm going up, and I got stuck. Like,
well, what's funny is we never, like, we should have engaged the locker in that, and I didn't even think about it at the time.
No, I'm pretty sure I had it in.
Nah, you can see in the video. You can see the wheels.
Well, either way, he was like, "No, you don't need it. It's okay. You do it." And so I'm going over these. What do you call them? I can't remember. What they're called.
Yeah, like articulation
Yes,
rail
exactly.
kind of thing.
So there's
Yeah.
like 10. So there's like 5 on each side. And I took the TRX and it was just like, "Yep, we did this." And then the Rebel is like, "Oh, you're stuck." You
I
gotta
was
back up.
I was
So I had to
amazed with
back up.
the T-Rex how much it would stuff those 35s. It would stuff
Yeah,
them.
this suspension, it's legitimate. Like the suspension is a legitimate 4-link, or I think it's a 3-link actually. But you know, it has a very legitimate, like hardcore rear end and front end package. So the way that they build the suspension is completely different than any of the trucks out there.
Super soft.
And yeah, it's really amazing what they came out of the factory as, but it is just a giant horsecock.
Oh yeah. And speaking of big horsecock, so the
Wow.
the Nismo,
And that's how you got demonetized.
right. The Nismo,
And on that note,
but the Z, me and you did a live stream, and it's probably the biggest live stream I've ever done when this car came out or made its debut. We were talking before the show. I think we had 3,000 or 5,000 in the live stream. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And me and Dan, we were at the time, like we have low numbers tonight in the 20s. That's kind of what we were early on with the Nissan and stuff. We were used to was just like, it's our buddies watching us blabble. And we got into the Z, and I remember looking at Danny like, I don't know how to talk to this many people on live stream. Like
You just do.
no, and which the Dave and Dan show came out on it. But Dan, have you seen any Z's out there?
I haven't seen a single Z yet. I haven't seen a single new Z yet. And from
Really?
what I understand, is like they're just impossible to buy, crazy high markups. Like I haven't even seen any at the dealerships. I'm guessing it's just supply and demand. There's just so few out there yet.
Yeah,
We've seen a bunch.
Well, the worst thing for it was
Of course, you've seen a bunch. They've had recalls.
Yeah, they had a recall. Yeah, stop
ahead,
order on it before it even got off the boat. You're like, Jesus, Nissan, come on, man.
Yeah, they stop ordered them and they're like, oh wait, we can't sell these for now for whatever reason. Did you find out what the reason was?
It was
that
a
they
little
stopped them?
pin. It was a little pin for the park to engage park.
Oh,
They had
okay.
to
Yeah. They'd
put a different
replace
pin
all of
in.
them. Yeah.
Yep. But the Nismo version here, of course, it's got a bunch of little Nismo parts all over it and splitters and stuff. But man, this car, it kind of pissed me off. You're seeing all the YouTubers, they got to be first at everything. Like TJ Hunt out in your area, he flew to Florida to go buy one. He paid way too much for that car because he wanted to be the first to have it at SEMA and do this and that with it.
It's worth it if you can get 1.2 million views on it. You can buy anything for over.
Oh yeah, but
YouTube, we're talking to you.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Hey, subscribe. But I have to say, man, I really, after seeing this car in person a few times, and we do get to drive it on the Tail of the Dragon in a few weeks. I'm just throwing it out there, guys. You will see some. Me and Kelly's going to another press event, and I am very excited to drive this because I've driven the 350, the 370s, and I've always had a good time with that car.
Yeah.
But everything I've being told about this car drive wise, it feels like a 70 with just a little more power.
Mm-hmm. Which is
isn't a bad thing.
understandable. Yeah, it's kind of a Nissan MO. Like the Frontier is the same Frontier with more power. Like when it comes down to it, it's a different body and a different skin and more.
But that's not always a bad thing because it kept a manual transmission in this car, and I have to say,
which is a
Dan,
big deal.
I've done time with the Supra and very BMW.
Yes.
You get in that thing, you hear every
it's
ding.
a BMW with a Toyota power plant, right?
No, it's just a complete BMW with a
it's just a BMW. It actually has stickers under it that has
Everywhere.
BMW.
Yeah.
Under
Well,
it
I
too.
thought it was a Toyota power plant in it. Like
No.
the actual car is BMW.
No,
Like
the engine
entire car,
the engine is
the engine also
Yep.
BMW?
Oh
I
yeah,
thought
it's
that they
stamped
had
everywhere.
separate power plants than what the Z4
No, they
has.
tuned it. Now Toyota's tuned it to their specs a little bit, but no.
That's
but
even
no,
worse.
getting in that
And
car,
we're better.
Yeah, of course. But getting in that, we're better than the Germans. But getting in that car, you hear especially after owning BMW, you hear every ding. It sounds the same. But dude,
I could have closed my eyes and he turned it on, and I felt like I was in my 2012 535i.
Yeah. Which I
But
totally
I will say,
understand.
this size car is one of the most fun cars to drive, man. I told Kelly when I came back from testing the Supra, I want one. Like,
Yeah, that's such a rad car. Like, I would really love to drive a Supra. I've heard so many amazing things, and like they're a rad car. Like, obviously you know the story on it. Um, I've just been out of the, I'm not in that scene, so I never really get the opportunity. I don't search out those opportunities, but I was
Right.
pretty jealous when I found out that you drove the Supra, and I was like, man,
well,
I bet
yeah, because I was
that
texting
was pretty
Dan from-
sweet.
I think I was texting you from Dallas, and I was in
Yeah.
Austin. Like, hey, look what I get to drive. And but would you be interested in a Z if money wasn't an object for you? Would you choose this car?
I'd probably pick one up and do a bunch of things to it. I don't think the Z is gonna like as far as power and handling. I just don't think that it's gonna hold up to the Supra. As much as I'm a fan of the Z and I love it, I don't think that it
Yeah.
will quite hold up to the Supra. I think the Supra beats the Z. I do. From a personal perspective, I like the look of the Z a little bit better, and I think the Z is more conducive to like a cooler look if you do a bunch of like body stuff to it and whatnot. Just
Yeah.
because, but I'm extremely biased in that world. But I don't think it quite like the Supra beats the Z on paper, and I think maybe also on the track. But it would.
Well, I will say,
it would. Hold on, Dave.
Oh, go ahead.
It would be so good if we still had all the crazy manufacturer racing where they're just taking these and they're taking the Supra and they're smashing them together, and they're racing and they're pushing the boundaries on them. We don't really get that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the,
Well, that's
there's the
our
IROC
generation.
days, and the IROC days and the rally days, and where they were just taking their cars and they're throwing the track and they were just racing the piss out of them against each other, and whoever came on top sold more cars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah,
we don't
no,
get
but
that
now
anymore.
the generation, it's all about drifting and ripping
It's
tires off, which is
drifting,
fine.
yeah,
It's
and it's
fun
like-
for a minute.
It's not.
Uh,
It's just not the same as what kind of happened back in the late '80s, or '80s, even the '70s, but '80s, '90s. It's you don't quite get that same like hardcore competitive edge in this automotive
Yeah.
world.
Well, I will say, so after sitting in one of these Z's, and I've done everything but drive the thing, I will say I do feel that people give the Supra shit about being BMW, but the interior quality is night and day different. It's so much better. The Supra's, the quality of everything in it is so much nicer.
Yeah, well, I mean, BMWs are really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's Toyota took a lot of shit for basically buying a car. And I do praise Nissan. People kind of trash Nissan about, they're so late to the game to get everything, but they're always bankrupt. Like literally to do anything, they're bankrupt.
What do they have?
And-
Like 6 years of just complete jabroniism
Oh,
in
yeah.
the entire.
Yeah.
Like they lost 6 years and they're playing they've been playing catch up for about 3. So that they are so behind.
But what my point is, that plays into the hand of the Z. They didn't. It's basically underpinnings, almost 370, which is people bitch about, but that's actually good. There was no reason to upgrade. There was nothing to upgrade basically about it. You want a bigger motor, yeah, but they still kept the manual transmission in it, which is cool. But even at the Frontier, it only benefits the Frontier because it doesn't have all the tech. And I love all the tech in our Bronco, but at the same point, I'm an old school. Just let me put the transfer case in, and I know it's in 4-wheel drive, and I can go do my thing. And the Frontier is even limited with tech. It didn't get all the crawl control features, and it's kind of benefiting because a lot of people want to keep that older style vehicle.
Yeah, it definitely helps in that world where it's like, I don't need all the BS. Just give me a decent off road vehicle that goes into 4-wheel drive and that I can go. I don't need 4 or 5 different drive modes to go off road. Just put me in off road. Put me in 4-wheel drive. Let's go.
Right.
And I mean,
Well-
the price tags matter huge in that department as well.
Well, and they explained some of that at Bronco Off Rodeo when we did it. And the reason for that is because they've got novices and they've got completely tenured wheelers. Because like for me, I don't want to use the easy button because I want to know why the buttons work. I want to know
Yeah.
what the buttons are for, because I want to know if for some reason my dial stops working, which button up here I can push that makes sense. But there are plenty of people out there that were there and go, which button do I roll it into? Like, which one do we go into? Because they couldn't wrap their minds around which buttons they needed to push for what
they don't-
situation.
they
and they
don't
don't know
understand.
because they've never done it before. I was the most tenured there. And I think I was like one of 2 people that had ever wheeled before. So like, yeah. So
Hey,
Yeah,
Dan,
they're-
the new Bronco, you
Yeah.
can be in 4-wheel drive high and engage lockers independently. You can put front locker in. I'm like,
it's
Drift.
amazing.
how?
I call that drift mode.
No, but I'm like, how is that's one thing I'm so happy about with Ford is like, because Jeep, even the Rubicon, you cannot engage just front locker. They have to both be on at the same time. It's just, it was a little piece of being like stuck with Nissan for a while of the cheapness that you're just like, oh,
Yeah, you
cool.
don't
Finally
have to
paying for a button.
like shreddy wire it like I did with
Yeah.
my truck. You're like, oh, I'm gonna have to pull all these wires out and rewire this thing just so I can put 4-wheel drive on and or put my locker on in
Full
2-wheel drive. Like,
Yeah.
stop babysitting me, bro. But on the other side, like, while we're talking about Ford, I will say that my F-150 with the EcoBoost towed my race truck like a freaking dream, dude.
Nice.
Like, that's one of the best car purchases I've had in a long time. I love my Nissans, but dude, my Ford is like the best. It gets 20 miles per gallon going to work and back. And then when I need a tow, it's like I don't even know that it's back there. It's so much. It's just such a good truck. Such a good truck.
Well, it's you might want to upgrade. I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah.
'Cause,
I know there's a bunch of F-250s and stuff that came out, right, Dave?
well, the
Super Duty orders started today.
Super Duty orders
Super Duty
started
stuff.
today,
That's right.
and
But it's a minimal window, is what
Yeah.
I've been told.
If you have a couple $100 million in your bank as side money, you just want to throw it out, you can just go grab a Super Duty.
well, the worst thing now is because me and you haven't really talked in a while, is like the windows now you don't get to order a vehicle anytime you want anymore.
No,
it's like this short window.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so right now I think there's like a 3 or 4 day window that you can order 2023 Super Duties. Like it's almost like a lottery now of like, well, you know, I need a truck, but oh shoot.
Am I ready right now?
You're throwing dice and it's like, oh craps. Damn it. But
Didn't
if
get
the
truck
car
I wanted.
market,
Why not? Because I didn't click the button on the computer. Huh?
Right. I didn't decide in September that my truck was going to blow up and I needed one in July. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
but the trucks market right now is almost like buying crypto. Like
That's so true. That's so true. It's kind of a freaking crapshoot. You're like,
yeah,
maybe this will be worth $0. I don't know. Maybe I'll get
But I
one.
need somebody to
fuck
pay
it.
me for my Gladiator now.
yeah. Dan, you need a Gladiator.
You need a Gladiator?
Oh, jeez. You still have that thing?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it probably only has about 100 more miles on it than the last time we talked to you like 2 years ago.
Can I get an I told you so?
Hey. I actually like Danny, for those that don't know, Danny hates Jeep products.
I hate
No, it's
my wife
it's
is
a
trying to
fun
talk
deal.
me into like getting her like her new vehicle. She's like, maybe we can get the new Grand Cherokee. I
It's
was like,
amazing.
No.
Summit L.
No. The
No.
Wagoneer is amazing. You said, right?
There.
Oh,
I did a video on it, Dan.
But again, that's like an $90,000
No.
truck.
109.
109. Yeah, sounds about right.
But it's 75 inches of TV screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bought a $1.2 million house. Might as well get a $100,000.
Yeah, you might as well. Dude,
Whatever.
let me tell you, since we have been covering more and more vehicles that are outside of our scope, I haven't even told you this, but we were at Sonic the other night. Sid and I stopped and grabbed something, and I looked over, and as I was pulling in, I said, Sydney, that's $100,000 vehicle. And she goes, what? It was a Wagoneer. And I was like, yeah, babe, your dad and I drove when we were in Texas. She goes, oh my God, $100,000? That's who wants one of those? And I was thinking I would have one if
she
I
wants
had the
a
money.
G-Wagon.
Yeah, if I was
She wants a
completely
G-Wagon.
rich, snag one.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, that new straight 6 in that thing though is
what's
a little
the-
beast.
The Hurricane.
The
a new-
Hurricane. That's what I was trying to remember. So that's
Dude, it did the little
wait,
pop.
it's a straight 6.
Yeah.
I completely missed
twin
that. I
turbo
thought it was
straight
just
6.
Oh,
Yeah, it goes pop, pop.
That's the most Jeep thing ever, right? It has turbo pops on it. It goes
Yep.
pop.
Yeah, it's in the
Pretty
video.
boss.
You can barely hear
Pretty
it, but you
boss.
hear Kelly getting into it, and you hear
Little blow-off pop.
Wow. Yeah, it was nice. It was kind of maybe.
I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna have to go back and listen because I missed that.
But I will tell you, if she's looking for a Grand Cherokee, the Summit L Reserve is where it's at because it has massaging seats, dude. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
That's the F-150 Platinum. Like I really wanted one, but I couldn't find one because it had massaging seats.
Yeah. Well, this is like I've been in some that you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. No, these are like actually like laying on a bed and they're like pounding your back.
Yeah, we looked down and we're like, dang, I guess we got to take this one back so we can
It's like
trade
the
it out
most
for
old
another
guy
one.
thing ever. Like I need a truck, but I can only get one with massaging seats. It's like the bougiest bullshit I've ever heard.
What was the fluffer mode or whatever you used to talk about?
What was it? Yeah, it was the special thing in the seats that gave you a what was the word? Oh, not Hoover.
The Dyson.
Yeah, we need seats that give you a little
tug, vacuum
suction,
tug.
blowage. I don't know. Yeah, like
You'll remember at like
$100,000
3 o'clock
you
in the
guys will-
morning.
Yeah,
Dan's
I
gonna
will.
wake up, and go, I got it,
Dave!
Oh.
Dave, I figured
He's
it
gonna
out.
text you. You're gonna wake up to it. In
Oh
the
hell
morning.
no, because his 3 in the morning's like, well, it's probably okay for
It's
me.
like 6 a.m.
Yeah,
for you.
that'd be all right.
Good old Ben Warren, take the wheel weights off all 4 ribs if you want massaging seats. Ben
Yeah,
Warren,
no
the classic with the
I know.
quips, dude. I remember him
I know.
from the good old days, bud.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
Oh yeah, you just totally went Michigan.
Oh yeah, bud.
Oh, yeah.
We go. When we're up in Minnesota, that's what we do. We take off all the wheel weights, and then there you go. There you got the massaging seats.
Oh, speaking of which, the old days.
Ooh,
What are
I
you
don't know what
doing
I
over
did.
here? The old days. You need to go over to the other channel and look at some of the comments because, like, they're asking about your towing video that you did with your camper and yeah, there's
On NMP.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the towing with the Frontier is a little different than with an F-150 with the tow package and the
Oh,
horsepower.
well, we towed that race
gas
truck
tank.
behind you with your Frontier.
I did. It's a
Yeah.
little different now. It's a little different now. Whereas before I was like, ah! Now it's like sipping my coffee. Like, oh, I forgot that was back there.
Oh yeah, that's right. I probably shouldn't run those people over because
Yeah. Didn't even
That must
notice.
be some California thing.
Yeah,
Splitting lanes. just run people over.
yeah.
It's just a
whatever.
$50.
just get
fine.
over there so you can stop the motorcyclists from coming up your lane, the middle
Yeah.
lane.
Yeah. Hey, and speaking of which, you need to tell your people stay over there, please. I'm tired of seeing California tags in Nashville.
Stop moving to Tennessee.
Listen, man, most people can't afford to live out here. They're not all kind of big deals like me. All right, you can't hate on them just because every house has cost like 4 children and the rest of your life. In a
Yeah, but the
bank
problem
debt.
is now I can't afford to live here because they brought all that money over
Alright.
here.
Sorry, you're just gonna have to
Our
live
house
it up
is worth almost twice of what it was when we bought it in
Yeah,
2018.
no. Well, enjoy. You're welcome.
Yeah, but the problem is you can't buy anything else.
We just made you double. We just doubled your money. You're welcome.
Well,
we
now I
have
can,
to move away in order to make that be money for us.
There's
I hear-
nowhere
I hear
to
they
there's
have
nowhere to
tents
move
over there.
anywhere, and the only places to move are crappy if you want to buy an affordable house. Anyways,
Well, you
today
got
on
tent-
Realtor.com.
Right?
well, you got tent space over there, right?
Yeah, I got lots of space out here if you want. There's a couple
is it
freeway
really as bad?
overpasses.
Is LA as bad as they say it is?
It's
with
worse
tent?
than you think.
really.
Yeah.
Imagine it and then triple that.
Wow.
I saw a homeless lady like naked on a park bench the other day. Just
Did
chilling.
you offer her a blanket?
No. There was some other homeless guy that I think was trying to do something. I don't know. I got out of there as quick as possible.
Well, they were just finishing up.
Yeah, I
They
don't
were wrapping up a deal.
God.
No, she was taking a nap. He was just looking to see if she had some crack in the crack. Something. I don't know. Maybe probably meth. Crack's too expensive.
Depends on which crack it is.
Oh my gosh.
Escape from LA with Snake Plissken. Mobile Moto. I like it.
Oh man. So Dan, when is the next race, buddy?
Maybe March.
No, I like the maybe. Got a
We'll
lot
see
to
how
prepare.
we'll see how quick I can get back into the garage after paying back my debts to the wife.
I was
owe
gonna
her-
say.
I owe her a lot of time and love.
Well,
And then
sounds
of
like she
course,
was giving you love earlier. So
Yeah, we'll see. We'll work on that tonight.
to see how long you've been away to see if it,
Yeah,
see
we'll
if the
see
mood
who's giving
changed.
love to who. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man,
Just smashing
funny.
whiskey and some beer, so it might
That's
just be
funny.
me loving myself.
Well, you are military. You know how to do that, right?
Yeah, well, I've been away for 5 days in a hotel room by myself, so.
Did you have a roommate?
This thing on? No, I did not.
Housekeeping.
Well, I did share a bathroom with some guy. I never saw him, but I heard him click the lock every once in a while.
Well, I
Anyhow.
bet you heard him. 5 days. 5 days. Man.
Oh my gosh.
You in
No,
there?
long story short, we will not move to California, but we've actually talked about if we could move out of the state, we would move
Dude.
to Texas.
With Texas or Utah?
Yeah, Texas or Utah.
Utah.
I loved Utah so
love
much.
I love it.
It's Salt Lake City. When me and you were out there, I was like Parks. I mean, obviously I can't.
I wouldn't go to
We
Salt
couldn't
Lake
afford
City.
per city.
Hey, speaking of that, we were watching some trash TV the other day. and
Oh,
they-
it's not just the other day. We're catching up because we haven't had access to said
I-
TV show.
I don't like any really trash TV shows except like 2. There's the boat show. What's it called?
Below Deck.
Below deck.
It's hilarious to watch. It's hilarious to watch these people like fight with each other. I love it. Either they're effing or fighting, and then the other one is the Real Housewives of Utah of
Salt Lake City.
And they were at that resort we were at the other day. I told Kelly, I was like, "That's the resort."
And I said,
Oh,
shut
man.
up. I don't want to know.
So yeah,
Well,
there you go,
Dave,
guys.
My opinion of you is still the same. I think you are still just Dave.
I'm just a floater.
Sounds about right. I would pin that on you. I'd be like, yeah, he's kind of a guy that likes below deck. Dave in a nutshell. He watches below deck, and Kelly
So
puts up
this
with
is
him.
like me in a nutshell.
I got the reference.
We actually had Austin Malin in the chat tonight.
Oh, and speaking of which, you haven't done it yet, and we have to do it.
Everybody's gone. There's
No,
only
I know.
12 people.
It doesn't matter. This is for us.
Yeah, this. Oh, hey, let me just say that your intro music and then that right there, they're like I was getting down on the intro music. I was like, I was like, in the
Don't
club,
encourage
I
him,
was like,
Danny.
yeah, some like hard.
Oh, Danny
Hard.
remembers me when I was trying to create my own music for these things. No, it wasn't me, you, and
Oh,
JR.
yeah.
And
I was going
J-
to say when you re-out JR.
yeah, I was like reaching out to JR, like, hey, can you produce something? We need some music.
That's because
But,
you didn't know you could buy stuff.
That's right. Well,
Anyhow,
Well,
go
rent
ahead.
it.
Go ahead, Kelly.
So there were lots of folks in the chat. I already started unclicking them because I didn't think we were going to do intros tonight. So since
wait,
we're doing
we weren't gonna
outros, or
all right, my friend,
And then
my
there
hands
were
off the
two.
button. My hands off the
and
button.
then there were 2 people in the live because they said Dave's crazy. So NSU college kid said not Bronco night, but just got home with my Bronco. It's been in the rail yard, or I got it to the rail yard yesterday. So shocked when the dealership called today. 1 year, 7 months. Sorry, Dave. It's a base. Thank you for. And he got it at MSRP too. They tried to add on a $750 package, and he was like, "Nah."
the tug package.
Yes. Nurse AJ was
Yeah,
in the
the
house, but
Tuggy
she's
package.
camping. She's gonna watch on replay.
Nurse AJ.
Yeah. And then Adam Weber didn't pay 1 cent more than my 15-month-old signed order agreed to. Got his too.
Nice, man.
Nice.
Joshua Stevens said, "Hello, I'm late." And of course, we're late now. Stephen Rapp said, FYI, Ford dealer advertised a GT500 stating MSRP was $127,000, but window sticker had $102,000 MSRP. Question: do you see this advertising ploy with Broncos? I paid less than MSRP for my Bronco.
I don't know. I can't say what's common anymore with dealerships. They're all over the map. I know,
Yeah, they
Dan, you were
really
having
are.
a trouble. You guys were trying to find a car last year, the family truckster, and you were having kind of a problem finding one.
Yeah, I ended up hooking up with a good buddy that owns a dealership that I got a decent rate for my used truck, and
Comparatively.
then Yeah. So I think now it's getting a little. I think it's tapering off a little bit, but
Yeah.
everything's just so much in flux right now. Like you never
Yeah.
know what you're gonna get.
For sure. John Burnett says, "Hey neighbors, but I'm actually in Texas tonight." He lives in Nashville
Well,
area.
Andy was in down the street the other day.
Cigar Texan in the house this evening. Michael Gillette was Nurse AJ's friend because she apologized ahead of time and said, "I'm sorry, Michael, don't you behave." We have Valley Dude 5000 in the house this evening, and we had a whole bunch of other people that Oh, we have, of course, Mobile Moto in the house this evening.
Mobile Moto has been dropping some quips, and I appreciate you,
Oh.
Mobile Moto. The Anne Frank shadow boxing and the Laura Ingalls Wilder, those got me chuckling for sure. So please keep peppering Dave with the subtle.
Oh no,
hilarious
he's
jokes.
good for busting my balls in here. He's
Yeah.
great.
Andrew
like
Mira
Mobile Moto.
says, "That's what she said. Size matters." Sorry. That was
So
her.
apparently she likes dudes that drive TRXs.
You know what else she likes? Oh man.
Bronco 78 was in the house at one point. You're killing me, dude.
Killing Danny.
You're ruining my intros.
No,
because...
clearly I'm not ruining your intros because I've introed you like 7 times.
Yeah, but you didn't. No, because I thought we were not going to do them tonight.
You
Because
won't.
usually
You
when we
got
miss them at the
buzzed.
beginning, we don't get to do them. So
Well, we jumped right in on Dan on this one. Oh, Dan's about to pee himself over there. or
Oh
something.
man, I'm
Bronco
having a
Dude
good
was in the
time.
house
I'm
too.
having a good time.
Adam Weber.
Well,
Okay, I think I went through.
all right. So that is the show tonight, guys. Welcome to the happy hour part 2. And Kelly's now my co-host on this thing. It'd be nice to actually physically be able to bounce things off of people, and you have a different take. Let's see. Texas has very limited public trails. Most land is private. Utah is much better option for wheeling. I agree. Well, Utah's
That
got
is true.
Weather perspective, Utah's better too, honestly, because it's cooler.
I don't know. Moab can be pretty.
Well, it's not as
freaking hot.
humid. It's not as humid in Utah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I mean, I'm thinking like Salt Lake City. It's cooler than Texas
Can we move?
in July.
It's closer
We're
to the
moving.
You
Great
can't leave your dad.
We'll just drag it. He won't know where he's at
This
anyway.
is gonna get deep. Let's not get too far into that.
All right, guys. So whether it be 2-wheel drive,
4-wheel drive.
it doesn't matter what you drive.
What
This
you
has been
drive.
your all-terrain nation, and we are out. Peace.
No,
everybody.
Dave, you're supposed to say, "What are we, Danny?" I was waiting.
what are
for
we,
the
Danny?
part.
Oh,
Out.